Hello and welcome to Creating Your Spiritual Path. My name is Dr. Kevin Ross Emery and I am here at Shaman's Dream Gifts in the Fox Run Mall in Newington, New Hampshire, where every week we do a free fireside chat. We have a number of different people come in. Last week Angie Dionju did basic angel communication. We've also talked about religion versus spirituality, trans-channeling. You can find all of those both at the Shaman's Dream Gift YouTube channel, their Facebook community fan page, and you can find it at facebook.com/mydrkevin, MYDRKEVIN. So, because I'm here at Shaman's Dream Gifts, I'm going to just take 1 second and give you a little bit of, here at Shaman's Dream Gifts, they have the stone of their month is pearl. So all the pearls here are 10% off. They have some lovely handcrafted jewelry, pearl jewelry, and it's all 10% off. Our sale for the week, which the week is almost, it goes into this weekend, are geodes. All the geodes are 10% off except for the big geodes. We're talking big. I don't know if the camera can see this. It comes all the way up to my, my waist. The big geodes are 15% off this week only here at Shaman's Dream Gifts. I am here every Wednesday and Thursday offering intuitive intervention sessions, and we now have readers on from Wednesday through Sunday every week, and we're going to soon offer them on Mondays and Tuesdays as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about creating your spiritual path. And some of what I'm talking about, oh look, there's a copy of one of my books. Now how did that get there? Combing the Mirror and Other Steps in Your Spiritual Path. Why? Which one of you put that book over here?
That was me.
Look, I got several people in the audience that snuck my book right out. Combing the Mirror has been out since 1998. And it actually goes through how to recognize what are the steps in your spiritual path. So if you come into Shaman's Dream Gifts within the month of June, and you say that you watched this on Facebook or you watched this on YouTube, and you were told that Dr. Kevin himself said you could get 10% off on this book at Shaman's Dream Gifts only, then they'll give you 10% off on this book. So creating your spiritual path. You know, a lot of people feel like a spiritual path oftentimes is something that's handed to them. It's handed to them by the community, society, their parents, their ancestry. They're raised, kids get baptized in certain religions before they can even talk or walk or know what that religion is. They have no connection when they're 6 months old, 3 months old, 2 years old, to even being able to say, does this crap work for me? Is this what I think spirituality is? Or is it one of those things where it's kind of ingrained? Not too long ago, a close friend of mine died. She was lifelong Catholic. I, for some reason, had never been to a Catholic funeral before. I wasn't raised Catholic. I knew Catholics, but I never had any reason to go to church with them. And there was all sorts of high structure, formality. And I kept on thinking, okay, so why do I bend here? And why do I bend like, why do I stand like this? And when do I do this? And I was like, is this a funeral or is it an exercise class? Because I wasn't really sure. And there was all sorts of words being spoken, but very few of them had to do with my friend. They didn't talk a lot about her outside of her name that sounded like it could have just been dropped in a script about eternal life and all of these things. And now I knew this woman. I knew this woman for over 20 years. And she was a devoted Catholic with a very curious spiritual mind. Catholicism was something that was a cobblestone in her spiritual path. But it wasn't the only cobblestone. This woman was very curious. She read lots of different books, lots of different movies, watched lots of different movies. She worked for me, when I had a holistic healing practice. And she always found it very fascinating. And she would laugh sometimes and go, I don't know. I don't know about that. But it's an interesting idea. But you'd ask a few more questions. Our spiritual path in a lifetime should be as unique as our DNA. It should be something that we have crafted together. For most people, they confuse the religion that they have chosen to join and what their spiritual path is. They may find parts of their spiritual path in the church they go to, or they may not. They may not find that their church speaks to them spiritually, but it's something that they do out of habit, out of social pressure, out of expectations. But, you know, there's an interesting thing in it. I've seen the video a few times. I think I might have even posted it once. I'm sure it will come back up. But they did this fascinating experience where they took a Holy Bible and they wrapped it with a cover that made it look like it was the Quran. And they stopped people who all declared themselves Christians and read stuff out of the Bible, and the people got so upset and said how horrible that was, and they couldn't understand why anybody would be part of that religion, and then they took the cover off and they saw that it was the Holy Bible. It's like, whoa. How many, I mean, there are some very, very adamant, I'm going to even say inflexible religions out there. And I say inflexible as an observation, not a judgment. They're two different things. Because they themselves will say, yes, the earth was created in 7 days. 7 24-hour days. That's what happened. That's fine. There's not a lot of flexibility in those statements, now are there? So I'm not judging, I'm observing. This is what's been said. So, when you have those that are very biblically driven and inflexible, you have those that are biblically driven but are inflexible. And you have those that kind of look at the Bible, and I think that this is the wide majority, as a book that they're supposed to have. They have one in the house. It shows up at certain occasions. It's certainly not read daily. And if it was followed to the letter, well, we'd have a much smaller population, because so many people would have killed so many other people for so many reasons that you can't even count them all. And it's right there in the good book. This is when murder is okay. This is when murder is okay. This is when murder is okay. This is when murder is okay.
Where do I get it?
So, and again, this is not a beating up Christianity talk. But what I'm saying is that there are a lot of religions out there. Judaism, Christianity, Muslim, Islam, I mean, they're all related. I mean, they're all kissing cousins, those three. But you also have Buddhism and Hinduism and Sikhism. You have paganism, Wiccan. You have a number of different pathways. And they may play into part of your spiritual path. But what may also play into your spiritual path is Shakespeare. Your good book may be Shakespeare. You may feel that you get touched every time you read a Midsummer's Dream, or Romeo and Juliet, or Hamlet, or Macbeth. It may touch you. It may speak to you. It may in some ways be quote-unquote your Bible. You may feel like you get life lessons out of it. You may feel like it teaches you things. It moves you. Then it's part of your spiritual path. Because your spiritual path, in of itself, has a lot to do with your spirit. The spirit of who you are. Who you're here to be. What did you come in to learn? How did you come in to evolve? What were the gifts you brought in this lifetime to send out to the world? How did you come in to impact the world? How did you come in to make the world a place that represents your presence in it? What are the legacies you will leave behind? What is the spirit that moves you to do things? There's the old Spirit Move Me song. I think by Barry Manilow, actually. The line came out of. But your spiritual path is all of those things that help you evolve your spirit. The things you are drawn to. That includes your artistic abilities. Whether they be in writing or music or painting or designing or whatever. They will be the relationships and what you value in your relationships and what you value in yourself. Those are all the cobblestones. In Combing the Mirror and other steps in your spiritual path, I talk about how our spiritual paths are like a cobblestone paths. And maybe, like my friend, you have a big cobblestone that says Catholicism. And she always made it work for her, but she always wasn't, quote unquote, the best Catholic, and she laughed about it. She was okay with that. She had a dichotomy that worked for her. I remember being in my 20s and going to visit my grandmother that was still, I had one grandmother that died that I've talked about before that died when I was 8. But my other grandmother was also a very spiritual and sometimes could be a somewhat religious woman, but a very spiritual woman, but a very curious woman. And so my Grammy Stevens, I always remember going in to visit Grammy Stevens, and I was in my mid to late 20s, and she had one of those chairs, and it was one of those big chairs that came out in the late 50s, early 60s, that had this humongous place to set your arms. And actually it was big enough to set a plate and silverware, and it was like the precursor to having a dinner table like tray in your lap. You could actually have your food beside you. So I went in to see my grandmother, and I looked. And there in her chair, and this chair was her reading chair. There she had the Holy Bible sitting on one arm of the chair, and Dancing in the Light by Shirley MacLaine on the other. Or no, it was Out on a Limb. It was her first book. So she had Out on the Limb on one, and she had the Holy Bible on the other, and I went, well, that's interesting. So that's an interesting set of reading. And she goes, well, nothing wrong with hedging your bets. She was probably about 85 at the time. And I thought, how fascinating. She is reading Shirley MacLaine at 84, 85 about reincarnation and her spiritual experiences in Peru. But she doesn't think that she has to throw her Bible away to do that. So she had a very interesting spiritual path that she was very mellow about. She brought in what drew her. So we all have a spiritual path, and we want to look at the things, and we want to say, is this something I drew to me? Is this something I am drawn to? Is this something that is taking me somewhere I need to go, or is it getting in my way? Now, as we talked in the talk I did on reincarnation, I did that 3-4 weeks ago, the reincarnation one? Anyways, the talk I did on reincarnation, I think it was here at this fireside chat, or was I talking at reincarnation somewhere else?
That was here.
It was
I
here.
just don't remember how long ago.
I talk a lot of places. I just talk a lot. Ask anybody that knows me. I just talk a lot. So anyways, but you coming into a lifetime chose certain things, and those things are part of your spiritual path, but they may be removed from you understanding of why they're part of your spiritual path. Why did you choose the parents you chose? Why did you choose the astrology chart you chose? Why did you choose a path that was going to put you in the way of perhaps an illness or an accident or the loss of a parent at a young age, or a household that wasn't going to stay intact, or some kind of disease at a young age that negatively impacted your life? Why did you bring all of those different things in? Because early on, your soul came in to have those experiences. You guaranteed it almost by the parents you chose to be born of. The further you get away from your birth, the more free will choices that are made, and the more that you're now starting to draw things in this lifetime way. But you came in drawing certain things to you and having certain soul contracts, and you want to go back and you want to go, how were my parents and who they were and what they taught me? How was that part of my spiritual path? How did it make me who I was, or keep me from somebody who I might have become that wouldn't have been good for me? And there are all sorts of things. You know, when I go through a process with clients where I will actually help them discover who they are and what they're here to do and how to get rid of the things that are in their way and work through the blocks and things like this. And one thing that always comes up on the chopping block is your belief systems. How many of your belief systems and habits did you just get handed, and do you continue because you don't know better? You don't know to do otherwise. And I watch people that will say, oh yes, I am a this. What does that mean to you? I go to church every Sunday, or that's the church I'll be married in, or I was, or I'll baptize my children in it. Well, tell me why. What's the difference between the Presbyterian and the Methodist? What's the difference between going to temple and going to high church? Going to a Catholic? What's the difference between the Catholic and the Episcopalian? Why did you feel like a pope was important? That's how I was raised. The pope is important. So is the pope important to you? Does the Pope have importance to you? Do you get out every day and think, okay, this was God's choice to be the Catholic voice on earth at this time? Because that's what the Pope's supposed to be. The Pope is a religious version of a king, and the whole concept that the king was born with both the right and the obligation to lead his people, or queen, her people. And the Pope was chosen to be the man that was divinely chosen to lead the church. Kind of close, isn't it? If you think about it. And again, I'm not trying to pick on any one religion, but your spiritual path can actually have no religion in it. Because you are, let's say, an atheist, doesn't mean that you still don't have a spiritual path. You can be an atheist and have a spiritual path. You may look at it different. You may have different languages. You know, now, there was a period where I was an agnostic, but I could still have a spiritual path. Being an agnostic never made me question that I had psychic abilities. The two had nothing in common. I just didn't know that there was a description of God out there that worked for me, that felt like, yeah, this is kind of where I signed up. Now, being an agnostic never made me feel like I couldn't be a Unitarian Universalist. There was no dispute. I didn't have any problem with that. But I did something that the majority of people don't do. I questioned. I sought out. I took responsibility that it was my spiritual path. And that in that spiritual path, with awarenesses, things would come that I would need to create the path that I came here to walk on, that I came in to have as part of my path. I got rid of the idea of accidents and coincidences. I got rid of the idea of victimhood and martyrdom. What I embraced was, this is the life that came into me, and this is what I have done with it. And the more awareness I have, the more self-awareness I have, the more that I am awake and participating in that life, the more responsible I become for my spiritual path. I don't get to blame minister. I don't get to blame God. I don't get to blame the Pope. I don't get to blame my parents. I don't blame my ex-boyfriend, my ex-girlfriend, my ex-shim. None of them got blamed. It's my life. It's my path. I am putting out to it what I have created because I have taken responsibility for that path. So in creating your spiritual path, there are a few things you need to do. And the first thing is question everything that was handed to you that you've had since childhood. Does it really resonate to you? And there's no judgment here. If it does, great. Does it resonate to you, the story of a virgin birth and a crucifixion and a rising from a cave and walking upon the earth again and a single solitary pathway to a heaven that other people won't be led into because they didn't bow the way you do? If that works for you, if that resonates to you, if that's part of your path, go for it. if part of your path is that, you know, it was an alien mothership that seeded the planet with little pods that popped up into people. Okay? You know, I've had conversations with people that they were raised with the belief system that, you know, they were from another planet, from their parents. Okay. But if we take your parents out of the equation, if we take out the, you know, people running around in semi-cultish-like ways and dancing for the mothership to land, does it really resonate to you? Can you look me in the eye and do I see not zealotry, but knowing? Most people I see out there screaming and hollering and dancing about they have the way, whether they're waving a death to everybody except us, death to you if you're a pagan, or death to you if you're gay, or death to you if you're whatever, the whole I come from a loving God, death to you sign, okay? Or whether it's the really excited about, you know, we came from the mothership, or the really, you know, people that are feeling like their only job in this world is to convince you that you have to follow their way. Those are not people in knowing and passion. Those are zealots. Those are people that the only way that they can avoid looking at the fact that they don't have a personal relationship with something that works for them on a spiritual level is by shoving it down everyone else's throat. That is not a spiritual path. A spiritual path is evolving you as a spiritual being into a greater sense of wholeness and self. Come on in. We're just doing our free fireside chat. You're welcome to shop. I'm just going to ask you to duck under the camera, which is pretty easy to do because it's very high tonight. And look around and feel free to ask questions. The store is open. So in this searching for your path, again, look at it like cobblestones. Maybe one of the cobblestones are some of the teachings of Martin Luther. Maybe some of them are from Martin Luther King. Maybe there's some of it from Jesus and some of it from Buddha. They don't have to fight. God speaks through all things. God, Goddess, Allah, Buddha. Those of you that tune in regularly know that I'm, you know, great pumpkin. I don't care what you call it. But that inner part of you that has that peace, that knowledge, that connection, that speaks to you. Do not be exclusive, be inclusive. God speaks through all things. And I always remind people, God can be speaking equally through the screech of an eagle flying in the sky as the braying of a jackass. It's still the voice of God. I love it when people will see some statement that was written by an evil person in history or somebody who's not of the right faith. And the words are so true that your heart vibrates when you hear them. And your knowing is that there is truth here and they don't like the truth and they get to discount it because this person said it. Stop. Stop. God speaks through all things. Maybe that person lived the life that you don't want to emulate. Maybe they made choices you don't agree. It still does not mean that that is not the voice of God giving you a message, helping you move forward, evolve, and create your own spiritual path.
Sage we have.
So I want to thank everybody coming to tonight's Fireside Chat. Again, this Fireside Chat was on creating your own spiritual path. We will have it on the Shaman's Dream YouTube, on the My Dr. Kevin, MYDRKEVIN, on my Facebook fan page. Come on in, visit the page, like me, facebook.com/MyDrKevin. I am here, come on in. We're just wrapping up our Fireside Chat. You're welcome to come on in and shop. I am here on Wednesdays and Thursdays offering intuitive intervention sessions. And so come on in and stop. Again, Wednesday through Sunday, we do have people doing intuitive readings. If you'd like to contact me, you may do so, Dr. Kevin, DRKEVIN, at MyDrKevin, MYDRKEVIN. Shaman's Dream Gifts, again, is located at the Fox Run Mall in Newington, New Hampshire. And you can come visit the store. You can come visit the website, shamansdreamgifts.com. You can come in or you can call 603-379-6555. That's 603-379-6555. And besides coming in and having sessions, you also can get phone sessions now from our group of intuitives. So you can call in on when one of our intuitives are working and get a session over the phone if you'd like as well. So next week, we are going to be talking about developing your psychic. Here is my DVD on Are You Psychic? I've been teaching psychic development classes for over 20 years. I've taught them all over the world. I have people now that are working as professional psychics because they took my class. So if you are interested in where your psychic abilities lie and how to develop them, come in next week or tune in on my Facebook fan page to listening to developing your psychic abilities. Thank you and namaste.